This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today on Judith Mancini Today. Wow, there is so much going on with these trials against President Trump. I can't keep up with all of them. I've just been watching or listening to on the television the audio of the Supreme Court hearing the reasons why the president should be immune from things he does in office or out of office. Now, this is, of course, excluding things like murder and disasters, things like this. But what the whole trial is really about is what happened, and did he instigate January 6th, and was he doing something against our country to question the election? Now, since this trial began, it's come to light again that there's 20,000 ballots that still haven't been counted in some of the areas. There's more. This was one particular state. And there are many ballots that have been found allegedly by people using the same signature on all of these ballots. So they went along to nursing homes and places like that, and they got their ballots and they filled them out and they signed the patient's name, but all of these ballots have the same handwriting on them. Well, that's illegal, okay? You have to have paper so you can sign an X or something on it, and it is notarized in some kind of form that you are unable to write, and that somebody who's a caretaker can do it for you with your X and their signature by it or something like that. Well, there's a lot of states that are still doing mail-in ballots for this upcoming presidential election, and it's very easy to stuff the ballot box. Remember the videos that were put on the news stations after the election with people literally picking up crates, and it was at the dead of night, totally dark outside, and they would stand there at a ballot box and they'd scoop up all of these things and stuff them in hand by hand. That's not legal. You're supposed to put your own ballot into the ballot box or the mailbox, whatever you're doing. So this whole thing would have been cleared up. He wouldn't be being tried for election interference for the 2020 election had Vice President Pence, at the time, Vice President Pence, had said, I do not want to certify this election until we investigate if there are actual ballots marked for President Trump that are legal ballots. Let's do a recount. That is legal. But Pence wouldn't do that. In my mind, Pence was a traitor not only to President Trump, but to the United States of America. I don't know that my vote was counted. And it's mail-in. That's what happens in California. So I have no idea if it was counted. Now, you can sign up for the voting board to, in your state, tell you if they received your ballot or not. They sent me an email saying they did receive my ballot. But my husband never received that. And those ballots were put into a voting box at the same time. So what happened to his vote? There's no way for us to check it. And he voted for Trump. And I voted for Trump. And we live in California. All right, now I'm going to be a leaker. I got an email today from one of the news services that I watch, and a gentleman by the name of Jim Reichert. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce his name, but he's published many books and done many talks and in finance and all sorts of things. And he has a very good reputation. Well, of course, he's been following all of this too. And he saw a video where President Biden accidentally leaked the name of Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, who will be the running person for president. He says that he thinks President Biden will resign in June and probably say something like, I have another medical problem. Not that he's losing his mind or tripping and falling down, but he will state that he has another very serious medical situation and he is not going to run for office. And then he will take all of his delegates that he has won through the primaries and he will pledge them to Gavin Newsom. Now, I know some of you are in California and a lot of people are in other states. I don't know how much you follow what's going on in California, but I, for one, do not want to see the United States turn into what California has turned into, with record numbers of homeless, drug addicts, crime, and all sorts of horrible things. The cities, the big, beautiful cities that once were Los Angeles with Hollywood, San Francisco, some of the cities on the coast that are absolutely beautiful with the Pacific out there, they've all been turned into places you don't want to go. You're likely to be hit over the head, robbed, step over feces, needles, and people lying in the streets. So if you want your country to turn into all of that, maybe Newsom's your guy. It makes sense to me that that is what the Democrat Party is planning on doing. And the reason I say that is you've probably all seen the short video that was on all of the major news, cable and network, of Gavin Newsom in his shirt sleeves with his coat slung over his shoulder, walking into the Oval Office when President Biden was out of town, smiling for the cameras, as if he was the person who belonged in the Oval Office. He's visited President Biden at the White House many times, but he has also gone around the country to speak, and he's even gone overseas to have meetings with people like Xi of China. Now, there is no reason for the governor of California to do that. Look at what else he's done to California. And the only reason I'm speaking so much on this, not because of my friends in Pennsylvania, they all know because I talk to them all the time. I'm trying to tell you Democrats in California, if you think he's not going to start putting trains to nowhere all over the country, you're crazy. And the electric car will come in. Now, do you know, just over the weekend, because our strategic reserve of fuel is down, we can't protect ourselves with our ships, our Air Force, our planes, it's down. Strategic reserve. It should have never, ever been tapped into by President Biden. All of this could have been solved if we had looked more closely at the past election. Governor Newsom wants electric cars everywhere. But of course, he's extremely wealthy and he can afford to have it. And of course, if he becomes president, he doesn't have to worry about it. But his family and everybody else will be able to have electric cars because they're extremely wealthy. Did you know he is a nephew by marriage to Nancy Pelosi? Check it out. Okay. So the other thing I want to tell you is that since last week, gasoline has gone up again in California, and there is a great deal of taxes on our gasoline for the state of California, as well as the federal government, as well as the price of gas. So in some places, it's gone up to $7 a gallon again. Here in the desert, it's already over 5, close to 6. That's for premium, okay? I know in some parts of the country, you can still get $2, $3, maybe even $4 gallon gas. Watch what you're doing at the ballot box. Unless you want your groceries to go up another $20 in your grocery cart, go ahead and don't listen to me. Make up your own mind. Make up your own mind anyway, but I'm trying to give you some reasons why you shouldn't put Biden or one of his cronies into the office of president. Okay, so today we're always talking about health because you know my tagline is healthy, wealthy, and wise. So we talk a great deal about health for people like me and like you are growing older and we want to take care of ourselves. So today's title is Vitality in a Woman is a Blind Fury of Creation. That's a line from a play that George Bernard Shaw wrote. He's an Irish playwright. And of course, I like him because he's Irish, but he wrote some really wonderful things. So you might want to check him out. This is actually a line from a play about a man, but I thought it was appropriate because what good is it going to do you to want to live to be 100, reach those triple digits, 100101, and take care of your health, do all the things that we talk about, exercise by just walking, by stretching, by yoga, being social, having lunch, playing cards, going to the library, reading great books, watching great movies, going to a concert on the green or maybe in a concert hall. We want to be vibrant, and part of being vibrant is being filled with vitality. Now, I was wondering why so many things started with VI. All the good things like vitality, vigor. What did I just say? Okay, and then I was looking at the ones that weren't so good, like violence and all. So it's a Latin prefix. And I found it very interesting because there's so many things that can go into this. It really means mental, physical vigor. It's also vibrant. It means jazziness, robustness, briskness, lusting. I thought that one was interesting. Vigorousness when you're making friends, when you're out at a cocktail party, when you're at a dinner party, with your luncheon with your friends. This is one of the things that I want to talk about. We don't want to talk about the bad things with the prefix VI, like violence, and which in this case in Latin means force. And we want to skip over that. We don't want to talk about any more negative things today. So what I'm trying to tell you is the VI in words has gone down through history, meaning two different things. So we're studying that. But also it has a new thing since the neo words coming out from things like what you're using in your emails, your texts, what you're saying on your iPad or your iPhone, VI. Oh, cool. It means cool. Let's go do something vigorous. I think you're great. So it keeps evolving what it means. What we also want to do is figure out how we're going to have vitality in our lives. So one thing that a lot of women like to do, they're the ladies who lunch, or they're just a couple of friends that go get coffee or lunch. Because you know that there are more women around than there are men. It's a sad fact that men predecease us most likely, unless, of course, we have some horrible fatal disease, which I hope nobody does. But unfortunately, we do get those things. So in the early days, in paganism and in Christianity, in a lot of different populations, women were looked at in wonderful ways as goddesses and women with wisdom. And you'll find this even in the Native American populations around the United States. You will find it in paganism, unfortunately. But what we're talking about, as I said, the good things. And it's always been divided up into three things. When you're a child and growing into maidenhood, before you get married, when you've become a woman, but you're not into the married state, you're often called the maiden. And then as you tend to get married and you become a mother, you have your first child, you enter the mother portion of these three classifications. So you go through motherhood, taking care of everyone and taking care of your spouse or your partner, whatever. But you have an entirely different lifestyle than you did when you were a maiden. Often when you're a maiden, also entering your 20s and up to your 30s before you get married or make a commitment to somebody to live the rest of your life with, you're building your career, or you're deciding if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, or if you want to just be in philanthropy and help people, or whatever you've decided to do with your life up until you become a partner of somebody. You're a maiden. So usually you go through the mother stage, it's called, for several years, and then you start entering your 50s and above, and you start thinking about the remainder of your life. And that's why we want vitality in our life, because this is definitely the last third of your life, we're thinking. It doesn't exactly divide up like that, because you're certainly not a maiden until you're 10 years old, and then a mother until you're 30, and then on. But it divides into thirds, your hundreds, up into age 100. And in paganism, they started calling these women who were getting very old and very wrinkly and very skinny and long noses, because they stuck it in everybody's face, and the horrible look with their mouth. Oh, I might make a good crone. No. So they called them a crone, which actually kind of means witch. And that wasn't very kind, but also a crone stood for the women who aged well, took care of themselves with all of the things we talk about. But they were also the wise women, the women of wisdom. And even in the Native Americans here, there were two types of many, many Indian tribes in the Americas and in the United States that we're talking about. And as they grew older, they praised the chiefs who were male and got wrinkly and maybe gave up hunting and fighting and were just sitting around enjoying life. They praised them, but as the women grew older and wrinkly and had been the wife of maybe the chief or the wife of the biggest and bravest warrior, they were wrinkly and shriveled up, and they sent them out with a very small amount of food and cast them out from the villages so they could wander around by themselves until the end of their days. On the other hand, there were people who were looked upon as the wisest of the wise, the wisdom, and crone meant these are the people who are the wisest. So there you have two diverse ideas of what a crone is. Today, if you say something about a crone, people think you're saying something horrible about a woman. I would be cautious using the term crone because it can be very insulting. So there were 3 stages of a woman's life in mythology, true life, in literature, and there's also 3 stages of a moon that the women followed also. So when the moon was waxing, yes, when the moon was waxing, I've lost my notes. Okay, when the moon was waxing or growing, that was the maiden stage for the moon. And when it was totally whole, a full moon, that was the mother stage of the moon. And as it starts going back down for the last time before the new full moon, you were waning, just as the woman who was becoming a crone, waning. We've had some beautiful, beautiful full moons lately. I hope you've enjoyed some of them from where you are. There was a pink moon the other night. That happens once in a while, that one of my friends posted about and said she saw the pink moon, full moon. The moon is looked on as something very special. It controls the tides in the ocean, if you know, or at least that's what some people believe. I think it does. If you do any tide watching in the oceans or moon watching, you'll see the influence the moon has on many, many people. So what are you going to do? Are you at the stage of your life where you're still a mother, you're still married, your children may be grown, but you have grandchildren, and that's still under the mothering part of it. And you're learning how to be vivacious and have a lot of vitality in your life because you've had it up until this point, and you're looking at it as everybody leaves the home and you become an empty nester, and you're taking care of yourself all this time, and now you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s. What are you going to do to have the vitality in your life? Well, the number one thing you need to do is continue to be healthy. And you may be at the caregiver stage, but you're still in the last phase of the cronyism. Cronyism, that means all of you wise women hang out together, okay? That's what people think when cronyism came about, that they were up to no good, that they were witches and they would be casting spells on people and all. So vocabulary changes as we go through the years. So be careful what you call people. We want you to have good friends in your later years. And we want you to have a lot of vitality. So there are certain diseases and illnesses that can hit you at this stage of your life. And we want you to make sure as we go through our shows on our weekly basis that we talk about all of them. And I want you to remember there are urinary tract infections. You need to go see a gynecologist and get those taken care of, because there's a reason you're getting them and you shouldn't be getting them. Alzheimer's disease, there are certain foods you can eat to help boost your memory and all. And yes, they don't cure it, but they help it. They help delay it a little bit. They just feed your body, and that's the whole thing. Your diet is so important in life. Osteoporosis, well, I tell you, I know somebody, my husband's best friend, he was a man, and he was unfortunate to have osteoporosis. Now, I'm sure this has happened to other people, and I don't know. I mean, he lived a good life. He ate well. He was thin, not on the too thin size, just a good normal size. He was interesting. He was vibrant. But he got osteoporosis, and he eventually died of it. He couldn't stop it. They couldn't do anything to help him. And he couldn't hardly move because everything in his body would just crumble. That's the worst case I've ever heard of in my life. So we try to address all of these things. Breast cancer. So many of my friends have had breast cancer. Diabetes. Somebody I know just had a stroke. Actually, it was a TIA. These are little tiny strokes, and a lot of people get them. And we can work on not having those, and heart disease by our diet and by getting some exercise and being social, interact with people. But we're not telling you to go out and run the marathon. And we're not telling you to watch your diet and not eat anything fun. You could have a very healthy smoothie that's like a milkshake. But you need to cut out I need to cut out the French fries and never eat another French fry in my life. Well, you know what? My birthday's coming up at the end of May, and I'm not going to give up French fries. I'm just not going to eat them at every meal. But everything in moderation, as we always say. One thing is alcohol and smoking are very bad. Honey, Lewis, alcohol men shouldn't have more than 2 drinks or 2 glasses of wine a day, and women shouldn't have more than 1. Now, what I say, I don't know why nobody's ever looked at this medically, health-wise. If you're going out to a party, can you start Monday and you're going to a nice birthday celebration with lots of people at the head table, and you're invited there? Can you have more than those 2 little drinks of wine? I say you could have a cocktail if you're a man. You could even have a cocktail if you're a woman. I happen to feel wine is better for you. And my number 1 choice of wine is champagne. Okay, but you're at this party. Now, you walk in and they hand you a Contessa Rita. That's a drink I created for the launch of my skincare company years ago. It's like a margarita, only it's pink, and it has silver sugar around it instead of salt. And it has a tiny, tiny half shot of tequila. So you can have something like that. But you should then limit yourself when you're at the table and have no more than 2 glasses of wine. I say a woman when she goes out. Now, I have been known to break this rule. When a woman goes out, it's not becoming for her to have more than 2 drinks. It's not becoming for a man to have more than 3 drinks. You don't want to be wandering around the room, tripping over your own feet, garbling your words. And that's what happens to you as you age. You can't drink like you did in college. Well, maybe you couldn't drink in college because you weren't a good drinker and you never limited yourself. Well, you can't do that kind of thing as you grow older. You look stupid. And it's certainly not good for your health. So remember the 2-rule drink for women and the 3-rule drink for men if you're out socializing. And there's nothing wrong if you don't want to drink at all. And sometimes we go out to dinner and we limit ourselves to 1 glass of wine and nothing else. So that's what we want you to concentrate on. And that's what will give you vitality in your life. Don't forget that women have to deal with hormonal changes during all these different life stages for women. And there are a lot of ways to keep your hormones going. I think it's by a healthy lifestyle. I don't take, what do they call them? They're pretend hormones. What do you call them? I don't even know them. They're like engineered by doctors hormones, and they give you a shot or they give you pills to take. I believe that God created us, and science shouldn't interfere with something that's not going to be good for you. I do believe in allopathic medicine. I think if you have cancer, you need to be treated. I don't think you can just stand there and say, Goddess of the moon, please remove this cancer. I believe in prayer to God, and I hope that he can help you, at least give you comfort. But I don't believe in things that are going to change your body. When you are a woman, when you're a girl and you go through menses and you start getting a period every month, your hormones kick in and you have all sorts of things. You might have cramps, you might have mental problems of depression and angriness, and you don't want to go and not be a little girl anymore and be called cute. On the other hand, you may be so excited because you're turning into a woman. And that's exciting, and you're looking forward to dating and getting married or whatever is in the view of you, how your rest of your life will be. But I don't believe in taking engineered hormones. When you get into your 50s, your late 40s, your 50s, you go through menopause. And that means you stop your period. And that's another huge hormonal change. And it can have an impact on your health, definitely on your mental state. It can give you night sweats and day sweats and all sorts of these things that nobody likes to have. But if you keep eating junk food when you're on a low because you didn't get to eat lunch on your way to pick up the kids or to finish the report your boss needs, or maybe you are the boss and you still need to put your notes together for the next meeting. You can't just eat a box of Junior Mints. That's not going to cut it. You need to eat healthy things. Having a bag of mixed nuts with you is a really great thing to do. That gives you protein and other vitamins and minerals, and it gives you energy. So they're not terribly caloric. It's a common fallacy that you can't eat nuts because of your stomach and things like that, but it's not true. It's like fiber, okay? And it has a lot of benefits. So try not to skip meals, just have something different if you can. And because you are now stopping your hormone treatments, you were designed, your body was designed to stop being fertile after your childbearing ages. And that's why you go through menopause. Don't fool with Mother Nature if that's what you want to call her. Don't fool with God if that's what you want to call him and that's who you pray to. This is normal aging. Now, your body does lose estrogen as you go through the change of life. And that affects your mood and your body and everything else. So you could take some natural supplements and things like that that won't hurt your body. You check into that, you look it up, just Google it and see what comes up. And you can read. There, so sorry. Somehow I got my mic muted. Can you hear me, Juan? Okay, thank you. All right, so sometimes we have technical difficulties here. So thanks, Juan, for taking care of me. So that's what I want you to do. Look at the natural products and see what you can do to keep your estrogen levels up a little. You can also do it by diet. And you can find the foods. One day we'll tell you all the different foods you can eat to help you with those things. When you are this age, you're thinking about, well, what am I going to do until I'm 80? Well, I'm turning 77. I've been podcasting for 10 years. I like it. I have created a couple companies, have been very successful at them. Now I'm thinking of starting something new to go along with my podcasting. And we moved. We decided we wanted a new adventure, so we moved. Now I'm fortunate enough to still have my husband. As you know, we just celebrated our 28th anniversary, but there's so many of you out there who do not have your spouses and you love so much and they filled your day with joy. It's very difficult to get over death, and it's very difficult to figure out what you want to do. And that's when it comes in. You should have friends, no matter where they come from, no matter if they're male or female. Everybody should have good friends. Now, I had lunch with a good friend yesterday. I've been very quiet since I moved to the desert because I needed some time to grieve and heal myself from the loss of my son. And my husband is very understanding over all of this. But we also moved to the desert because we were tired of the crime in Los Angeles and Beverly Hills and everywhere else. Can you imagine going to a high-end shopping center and you can't go in, you have to stand in line and the police have to guard you? It's ridiculous, ridiculous. And in the other neighborhoods, you can't even get a tube of toothpaste unless they unlock the glass. So we wanted to get more vitality in our life, more energy in our life, and a little calmness in our life. We didn't want to hear the news of what was happening in the local grocery store as you're trying to check out and getting hit over the head for your groceries and your money. So it sounds like we lived in a really bad area. We didn't. We lived in a very delightful area, and it was peaceful because it had tall oaks in it and wonderful places to hike and go to the little lakes around and all. But the United States is changing. So that is going to impact how you get the vitality and the energy and enjoy the last part of your life. Now, we're always talking about it. You can go out and start a new business. You can teach people how to knit. You can teach people how to put on makeup. If you have a need for some money, you can do some side hustles, and you can do like some people are influencers. You could be an influencer at any age. You just have to kind of explore it on Amazon and some of the other companies. There are a lot of things you can do. Well, I enjoyed my lunch yesterday or the day before with my girlfriend. I hadn't seen her for a long time. And unbeknownst to me, she had another friend move down here who lives close by. It's somebody that she dated and was they had a wonderful relationship years ago, and they have remained friends even after their personal romantic relationship ended. And it was such a delight to see him and catch up with him. And he just kind of comes in and out of her life and always checks on her to make sure she's okay. And she checks on him to make sure he's okay. Now, they're both ambulatory, they don't have mental fog or anything like that. But everybody gets health problems, and he's there, and she has children, and I actually don't know if he does or not. But I tell you, it's nice to have a woman or a man in your life, and they can be your best friend, or they can just be a casual acquaintance. Now, one thing I want to say to women, and this happens a lot, I haven't had any group luncheons since I moved down here. And unbeknownst to me, I know over a dozen people down here, and I hadn't even realized they had moved from the Los Angeles area to the desert area. The reason was because I stopped going out, I stopped socializing, I stopped doing everything when I lost my son, except to be with my family. So, the one thing I want to say about the women who lunch, and as you get older, sometimes you have a group of women that it's really fun to get together with, maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, maybe every other month. And you sit there and you talk, and this happens more with women than men. You talk about every ache and pain you have. And granted, we all get them as we age. And some of us, unfortunately, get more serious diseases. Now, I'm pretty healthy, but I just had a spat of some really weird things happening. I got trigger finger. It happened in one day. Weird. Yes, I think maybe it's because I use the laptop a lot. I'm typing. I don't know. Anyway, you get little things as you grow older. What I don't want you to do, because it's not vibrant, it's not vitality that's spurring you along, it's complaining. Now, with our little aches and pains, we want to talk to somebody about it. I get that. I don't particularly want to, but a lot of people do. And they want to because they want advice from their friend, or they just feel terrible and they want some commiserating, they want some sympathy or some advice. So, what I'm saying is, don't sit at a table for 6, 8, 10, or 12 and do nothing but play telephone and go around the table complaining about the illnesses you have. It is boring. Talk about the upcoming election. Talk about your grandson graduating. Talk about your granddaughter who's a star volleyball player, and as a sophomore in school got 5 schools giving her offers of scholarships because she plays such great volleyball. Now that is vitality, particularly if you get to go watch the games. But vitality is going around that table or at the cocktail party or on the phone, however you interact with people. It's not complaining. That to me is the biggest problem of growing old, how people complain. And believe me, I have compassion for my friends who are very ill. And I don't want to lose them. And I love them so much. But there's a right time and a wrong time to talk about it. And the right time is with your best friend, your BFF, or maybe you have 2 BFFs that you can tell everything in confidence and they don't spread it around. Maybe you're having terrible financial problems. Well, only speak to your very closest friends. Gossiping about people is a no-no. Don't be a mean girl in the last 30 years of your life. That was over in high school or junior high. I don't know. I don't remember too many mean girls. I've had a few that get jealous sometimes of what you accomplish. And I don't know. I've never had a jealous bone in my body. I've never really hated anybody or anything like that. I'm just different. I think it's because of the strange childhood I had. So that's what I want to say to you today is get out there and figure out how you're going to put some vitality in your life. If you can't think of anything, this is what I want to suggest to you. Now, I've been talking about this a lot lately, and it does help. Get a journal or just some pieces of paper, whatever. I ask you to take notes sometimes in these different podcasts. But what I want you to do is get a journal that you can spend 5 minutes at every day and have a gratitude journal. I pray in the morning before I get out of bed. Always have, always will. Some people think you're supposed to get down on your knees by the side of the bed. I don't. I don't want to move. I just want to be close to God and speak to Him. And it's my gratitude time. I'm grateful that I can still see. Well, sometimes I have to put my glasses on to see the little print. I'm grateful for my family. And I don't just say I'm grateful for my family. I write down all their names and what they're doing, like my granddaughter. All right. This is helping you with vitality in your life. So clear your head, become grateful, and then decide what new year. And the new year is coming up. So you realize that we're in the second quarter? Yes, we are. Okay, so you want to accomplish some things. You might want to make some new friends, and there's all sorts of things. A lot of the people live at different golf clubs here with condominiums and things, and exercise rooms, spas, deals like that. But they also have interesting classes and discussion groups. You could join one of those. And if you don't live in a place like all of us retirees down in the desert, and by the way, we don't live on a golf course, but there are places you can go and join discussion groups like your local library, or perhaps you want to start a book club. Just get involved. Join one of the political groups before the election comes up. Doesn't matter to me which one you join. Just get involved. Talk to people and try to push yourself to get out there at least once a week. All right, everybody, thank you for joining me. Go out there, be vibrant, get some vitality back into your life, and live, laugh, and be happy. I'm going to leave you with these words. Remember yesterday, cherish it, dream about tomorrow and what you want to do with the rest of your life, and live today. Thank you.